Hello and welcome to QUIZZY Monday. We've got a packed show tonight, so I am going to cut straight to telling you what we've got on. We have Anthony Fish, fresh from winning his Mastermind semi-final. We've got Fatima Sheriff, fresh from winning her University Challenge semi-final. We've got Bobby Seagull, legend, Emmanuel 2017. We've got Lindsay Baumeister, legend, Only Connect 2020 to 2021, and Michael Kohn, Imperial's captain, legend 2020 to 2021. Brilliant to hear from all of those tonight. We will be talking about the Mastermind fourth semi-final, University Challenge's first semi-final. We will have John Stitter of the Online Quiz League taking part in Quizzer in a Reasonably Simple Quiz. We will, of course, have Quiz Week, all the news from the world of quiz and the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week. And we will end with our champagne moment of the day, the favourite moment that our collaborators on the show tonight have from both Mastermind and University Challenge, or indeed Counterpoint, because we want to say a big congratulations to friend of the show, Frankie Fanco, for becoming the Counterpoint champion today. So well done to Frankie. So I am going to just let you know that you can post comments in the chat. And if you've got any questions for anybody, chuck them in there. But we have, looks like we've got a nice surprise guest as well. So let me bring everybody on. We have Antfish, we have Bobby Seagull, we have Lindsay Baumeister, we have Fatima, Gilbert, and Max. And I don't know, and Michael as well. We have the whole Imperial.
So we have all of us. I assume Max and Gilbert will probably go at some point, but
now I'm kind of sandwiched.
Wow. Well, it's great to see you. And last but not least, we have the criminal mastermind behind Imperial College's team. We have Michael Kohn. Welcome, Michael. And of course, we can't have Michael without Lindsay, or vice versa. So there you are. You're back with us. So look, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming on. It's great to have you. Where on earth do we start? We've got two bunches of winners, and let's just start with you on Mastermind. You were the top scorer. In fact, this is the same as the University Challenge for Imperial. Top scorer going into your semi-final. Did you kind of feel confidence with that score under your belt, or a degree of pressure to live up to that second time?
A bit of both, I suppose. I was, like I said earlier, I was happy with the first round score, but Hitchcock was my thing. I didn't really have to do as much work with Hitchcock because I kind of knew a lot of the stuff anyway. It was just going over old stuff. So the semi was a lot more work involved. I put a hell of a lot of work into the boxing because although I had a bit of an interest in it, it wasn't the same degree as Hitchcock. So if it was so much more work intensive that the boxing. So I was probably a better performance, even though the score was slightly lower. And I know the kind of quizzes I was up against in that heat as well.
And Imperial, you went into this match having scored 875 points in 4 matches. Emmanuel had scored 800 and something. It might have been 45. My memory is a little bit off, in 6. So you knew your track record was that you'd been scoring more heavily than them. But, what did that mean when you actually got into that match? Did it mean nothing, or, did it give you confidence?
I think Emmanuel are very good to pick up when we drop the ball. So we weren't underestimating them.
I went in there. I was really nervous, to be honest, as always. I needed about 5 cups of coffee that morning. We
went in with the knowledge that Emmanuel almost beat Edinburgh.
Yeah, and so that was scary. Yeah,
that's enough to be said.
Yeah, because Edinburgh, one of the semi-finalists, are on next week. Fantastic team. So any team that runs them close is really strong. And, early on in the game, Emmanuel looked like they'd really brought their A game. They really looked like they were taking it to you. Nerves at that point?
Emmanuel are also incredibly lovely. I posted some pictures on my Twitter, but they were playing like a theatre sort of like warm-up thing in the green room. So we had so much fun with them that we were it was kind of that like camaraderie that we went into where we were just cheering each other on.
But I think, and I highlighted this to Fatima, whatever happened in that match didn't matter. I won the warm-up game. I won the standoff, and at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Bobby, from your perspective, going into a match when you know you're in red hot form, you know, what does that mean for you? Does it give you confidence? Does it kind of give you that extra percentage? How was it for you when you were on the show?
Yes, in my season, we'd won 4 matches on the bounce before the semi-final. And each match, our gap had got larger and larger and larger. Then we played Eric Monkman's Wilson team, and we'd played them many times in college and practice. And to be honest, it was like 50-50 in intercollegiate practice at Cambridge. But obviously, a lot just depends on the day and the form. I remember actually, Imperial, I was actually speaking on WhatsApp to my Emmanuel team. We've got our mascots here. Manny the Lion. There's Kleiny the Bottle, who didn't make an appearance. And there's, I think, Ellie the Duck as well. And I spoke to them on WhatsApp just before their match against you guys. And I think we were very proud that they got to the semi-finals. I think we'd lost this year's team had lost I think they lost in the first round, but then they came through as highest scoring losers playoff. And then they lost the second quarterfinal, had to come through the playoff again, as it were. So they're like staying in really battle-hardy team. We knew it'd be a tough match against Imperial. So almost like we needed all the questions to sort of fall our way. And early days, it did look like it, but then the Imperial machine got going and then it just steamrolled over us.
Indeed, the machine. And I'm going to flip back to the machine of Mastermind. Because Ant, you got 30 points in the first round, the highest of anybody.
Yeah.
Tonight, your perfect first round on boxing, 20th century heavyweight boxing bouts. You must have felt great at that point, but you knew that you'd got serious competition to come after. You got Roe, and then you got Andrew. When you sat back down in your chair, were you thinking, job done?
It's more relief than anything that you've had a good round. Not that you've got them all right, but somebody just said about the nerves. The nerves are just insane. I was the most nervous I've ever been in my life, and I've done a fair bit of quizzing, not as much as the guys on here, but I can put over how nervous I was. It was just incredible. So glad just not to just make a complete show of it, really, and just show a little bit of what you can do. I didn't know Andrew was going to be on because he was one of the highest scoring runners up. What wasn't he from the series? So when I saw his name on the paper, that kind of set me back a bit because I know how good Andrew is. But you're not much is going through your mind other than focusing on the question and just please God, let me know the answer.
Which I think is kind of the common experience of people on shows. But in terms of the nerves, Michael, Lindsay, in your runs on your shows, when did the nerves really hit you? What was the moment where you could feel it in your gut?
I think when we got through to the quarters, when we got through to the semis, because the quarters was the target that we set. So that was when, and actually that was how come we ended up screwing it up, because we didn't think we should be there, and actually we should have done, because we should have won the series, which we know, I always think. But I don't generally suffer from nerves, as you'll know from the fact I've just burst into song upon request. It's not something that I usually suffer from, but it's when it feels real, I think, is probably it was. And
it's not so much the question. It's not so much the question and the level. I find it's the other people. You look at the other people and you think, like you said, should we be here or should I be here? And that's what kind of sets you back. It's not necessarily what and the question.
Nobody's going to see a Fanco written down and think it's going to be an easy ride.
No. No. Michael, how about you then? You made it all the way to the final last year. No,
semi-final. We went out in exactly this round. I think it was the same episode. Yeah. So I think my journey was strikingly similar to Emmanuel's in the sense that we lost the first round, lost one of our quarterfinals, and lost in the semis. But I think probably the early 2 rounds, like the more you get, the more it goes on, just the more comfortable you feel because it just becomes something you've done. I think it was against Warwick in our first game. There was one bit where I genuinely had no idea what happened. I have not really a history of anxiety, but I somehow had a panic attack in the middle of one of Warwick's bonus sets. So very easy to edit out because the camera wasn't on us, but they very kindly let us stop, let me have a break. And then I was like, well, and just before I left the room, Jeremy said, we're going to take a music round. And he said, you're going to hear a piece of classical music, which made it temporarily worse. And then I was like, right, I'm going to buzz in on the first note of this. And I don't care what comes to my mind. I'm just going to say what it sounds like. And hopefully we'll be right. And that worked. We still lost the game.
For Michael Mays.
No.
So how did you use that experience, Michael, when you were sort of coaching and supporting this year's Imperial team? How lovely pose there.
They can possibly remember what I said better because I don't remember. I think I reminded them of the fact that the production team are quite good at dealing with things like that, so that if something happens, don't sort of wait until it's too late to deal with it at the time. I think Michael put it in. There's a very nice interview before them on Imperial's website, and Michael put it in there that apparently, and I remember saying that I said, try and go for the first starter, because once you get the first starter, you feel much more comfortable. And I said, if the other team mess up, try and make sure all of you are buzzing in. So it's not the same person buzzing in, because then everyone's more comfortable. If everyone's more comfortable, you're going to have a better time, probably.
Yeah, see, I remember, because that's what I remember you telling that to me as well, about just when it comes to getting content, really just go for it, just absolutely plow for it, and whatever happens.
Yeah, and when you're in a really sort of tough match, like Bobby was against Wolfson and Lindsay was in OC in the semi, and Michael was last year, and in your 2 rounds, holding it together and that sort of calmness, can be the difference in a tight match. That clarity of thinking. Bobby, is there anything you've learned in all your TV escapades since doing University Challenge that you kind of wish maybe just a technique or a skill that maybe would have given you that kind of poise or something extra when you were on UC?
So actually the thing that I told my team, Emma, is to enjoy it, because often people in the moment they're caught up in it, they're worried about the next question, the next match, feeling quite tense, and then afterwards people asking them, to be honest, for years, even now 5 years later, I've done lots of cool things, but people often still ask me about University Challenge. So if I could have a time machine, I wish I could go back and relive the experience. I think it's probably enjoy it more when you're there, because they are special moments. University Challenge is a cultural institution in the UK, and the fact that anyone gets to go on it's an incredible achievement, let alone get to the semis or finals or beyond. So I think it's just enjoy being, again, Mastermind, enjoy being part of that cultural institution.
Yeah, and Dan, who is a finalist in Mastermind last year, says Ant was brilliant in both round 1 and semi-final. Would be a scandal if he wasn't in the final. Really impressive.
Scandal, absolute scandal.
Dan says, well done. And Andrew Franco comes in. He was the 5th highest scoring player in the entire first round. Didn't make it through because he lost to Patrick Buckingham, who scored even higher than him. Do you have any sense of how late that call-up was? Because it felt to me that he felt a little bit undercooked, like he didn't have a huge amount of notice.
Yeah, it wasn't as if he picked a very big subject either, was it? African World Heritage Sites. But I don't know. I didn't realise that he was my opponent until I saw his name on the sheet. So how long notice he had? Probably less than me. Probably get about 2 months between rounds to sort of hit it.
Couple of weeks. It was the first thing I asked Frankie after the show.
He had a couple of weeks' notice. Yeah,
it took 2 weeks on the subject I did boxing would be it wouldn't be possible. There's just no way.
Yeah. So we had some great subjects. Lots of people loving Fraser online. We had your boxing. We had African World Heritage Sites and Wilfred Owen. If the people here had to go for one of those, which one would it have been, Michael?
Which Michael?
Solo Michael.
Probably. I missed the first one, but I probably would have gone for Wilfred Owen. I watched the rest. I did not understand any of the boxing. You did great on it, but I understood very little of it.
Fatima, Michael, Max, and Gilbert. Sorry, I've forgotten your first name.
I do that time as well.
Imperial Gilbert. Which one would you have gone for? Max, presumably African World Heritage Sites. You'd have mullered that one.
Yeah, I don't like UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but I know all of them. There's about 1,160
He
something.
hates the idea of them.
There's 160 something. I know. All
I mean, there's a couple of hundred in Africa alone, aren't there?
Yeah.
You know.
For me, I think also Wilfred Owen, because I like poetry. But I feel like if I'd watched Frasier, then probably.
See,
Frasier.
now I would have gone for the Frasier. That's what I would.
Frasier for me. As soon as Ro told me
I
she was
think I would
doing
have been
Frasier, I thought
I have seen
way too big. It's just far too big a series.
Frasier was a huge.
Some of those
Way too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is big. Yeah.
I think that was the problem for her.
I was watching with some
Morgan or
friends
something,
who.
but crazy. But Morgan Bush, who may be watching, wanted to do Frasier, and now he knows why he couldn't do it because she was doing it.
Yeah.
There we go. And that's why I wouldn't have wanted to do it. Take it away from them.
I was watching with some friends who hadn't seen Mastermind. They were there to watch Imperial afterwards. They said why. I said I didn't think that was a great choice of subject, and they said why.
No.
And I said it's just really hard to learn and way too big. And unfortunately, that was right. She seemed like quite a good quizzer, but just a very difficult choice of subject. There was someone. Was it in the first round of this series where they chose a Song of Ice and Fire novels, and there's about 6,000 pages between 5 books.
They're pretty chunky.
It did not end well for them.
There's a real art, isn't there, in picking the subjects and picking something you can nail in the time available. How many world title bouts were there in the 20th century?
Well, they were only the bouts that the belts exchanged as well. So it wasn't as if it was like Muhammad Ali had 20 odd defenses, but they were only when he lost and won the title, you see. So there were 62 bouts.
Okay.
Still a lot.
That's a really cleverly narrowed subject there, Ant. Really, fantastic. And you got 13 out of...
Yeah, I watched them all 3 times and read copious amounts of them.
Dad says thought Wilfred Owen was a really clever choice. Died age 25. And worked to quiz on. It's always a smart move to pick somebody who died young. So
what is that? What?
Indeed. Sorry, what was that, Lindsay?
What a depressing thought.
Well, there's an upside to premature mortality, and you get on Mastermind. So at halfway, and you were kind of comfortably in the lead, really. 5 points, I think it was. Did you feel comfortable, or did you kind of feel a pressure of, if I blow it from here, people are going to be talking about this forever?
Seriously, not comfortable at any point. You do your specialist subject, and you're all psyched up for that, thinking, I wonder if the stuff I've looked at is going to come up. And then when that's over, you think, oh my God, general knowledge could be anything. And then your sort of mind sort of spins out, and you think, well, no, I'm good. I'm good at general knowledge, so just relax and calm down. But you've got to answer them, even if you need 10, if you need 5, if you need 15, you've still got to answer them. So no, never comfortable.
Yeah, Brendan is saying Ro's general knowledge was tough. Ro certainly it felt almost as if she knew the game was up, kind of partway through. Her head dropped, and
you can see that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and but she's made a semi-final, and there aren't that many people who made a Mastermind semi-final, so hopefully she kind of looked back on it positively. And then Andrew comes up, and perhaps he might be disappointed with his specialist subject, but he got 15 out of 18 in general knowledge, and at that point you must have known there's a game on here.
Yeah, you sat there thinking, hopefully I'll be sat thinking, get one wrong. But he was absolutely flying. And I've known that anyway, because I know he's not going to go up there and crumble. I know what a quizzer Andrew is. So even though, what did he get, 7, 8 on his specialist round? 5 or 6 points is nothing when you've got a quizzer of that caliber, definitely.
Yeah. Michael has just switched to audio. So, yeah, you went in needing a total of 23 to win. So 10, which is one of those difficult kind of figures. It's easy to blow that.
I suppose I'd like to think I could get 10. You know, I got 15, 16 in the first round, so I thought I've got to be having a bit of a mare not to get 10, but still, you've still got to answer them, haven't you? You know, you know they're not given to you. You know.
Yeah, and answer them you did. You got 14 and won the show, guys. Those of you who watched it, what did you make of the general knowledge tonight? Any favourite questions? Good gets. Bobby, how about you?
Ooh, I'm going to have to think back.
The thing is, again, when I did the celebrity version of Mastermind, which is obviously a little bit easier, a couple of years back. And actually, when you're sitting in that chair, your mind does go to mush a little bit more. So on University Challenge, you've got 3 other teammates. Even though Paxman's, I think, more intimidating than the host of Mastermind. When you're sitting in the black chair, it's like, I think there was a question about Rod Stewart, and I confused him with sort of like Barry Manilow. And like afterwards, like, what am I doing? But I think sitting in that black chair, and again, even walking up, I was panicking, don't trip up on the way to the black chair. Like, and were you even thinking about those like factors? Like, make sure you
everything. You know, just actually listening and processing the question, and it's just so surreal. You're either, as you know, you're either in there or you're not. You're either in the zone or you're out, and you don't really know until you sit down and get on. It's a, people have said before with Mastermind, it's a kind of a sort of it's like a butterfly effect, and you get one wrong and you get 2 right, and then you can see people start to think and panic and the worry, and you've got to keep that momentum. And very much like UC, really, isn't it? You know, you see teams get off to a flyer, and then before you know it, there's steamroller in the next team. But it's just that kind of momentum.
Actually, one thing I wanted to ask Gareth is about the impact of having an audience or not. So, Michael, in your series, did you have an audience throughout the entirety? So the current Imperial team, it was done behind closed doors, wasn't it? Yeah. Like, I was wondering, how does that change your, like, in terms of performance and nerve? Does it make it more nerve-wracking or less nerve-wracking? Or is it hard to have a comparison? I'm just intrigued about the audience.
Yeah, we can't say because we never had an audience.
But I think Michael was half-half.
Yeah, because I was in the audience for Michael's first.
Gilbert was there. And he watched me sort of trembling for about 20 minutes before waking up. And yeah, so I think actually, yeah, obviously I really wanted to be in the audience to watch this year's Imperial, especially in the later rounds. But for me, when I was a contestant, it was so much better not to have the audience there. I just thought then, like that, I thought I could forget about where the cameras were and that they were on me and just focus on the questions, especially when I had sort of my head down. But when you know that your family or people you care about, friends, etc., are in the audience, I couldn't forget that they were there. I looked at my dad as I buzzed in early and completely wrongly on a classical music question, because he taught me a lot about classical music. And I thought, I can't get this wrong, and then did.
I've done both. I've done shows with and without audience, and I would definitely agree the audience makes it 10 times worse.
The thing about the audience as well is that sometimes when I was in the audience, I noticed like you always have people start like talking to their mates about like answers and stuff. It's bad enough when Twitter start comparing answers online. I don't want to have people do it like right there in front of my eyes.
And like it's stressful being on the show, but it's also stressful being in the audience. 2 of my flatmates came. I can't remember how far away they were sat from you, Gilbert. But one of my flatmates, I think she squeezed the other of my flatmates' arms so hard towards the end as we were catching up that it left some marks that took a while to go down.
Yeah, I was stuck to my seat with nerves for you, like while watching it. It was intense. It was like really tense. Just watching in person.
And it's sometimes, you know, you give an answer or something, and there's just a little kind of ripple or something through the crowd, and it's that can be a little bit off-putting. It is even more off-putting if there's somebody you know in your eye line. I have to say I had that once. Never again. That was terrible, because you end up looking for the reaction, and that is not good.
Did you just imagine them naked?
That would not help, Lindsay.
I think that'd be worse, to be honest.
We had David Mitchell at the side of one of our OC shows. That's about as close as we came to an audience.
Not a bad audience to have.
That is not a bad audience to have. But Bobby, you had an audience, obviously, for your university challenge. You know, how conscious were you of the audience?
So the thing is, partly because I may be a teacher and educator, I always prefer when there are people there. Like I prefer, again, even like my studies, if I'm at home by myself, I'll procrastinate, do something else. If my siblings are there, my mom's there, dad's there, I need to make sure I'm studying, someone's watching. I actually perform better when there's an audience. Although sometimes having family can be distracting. So in my second round match, which like I was very, very positive and cheery, my family was sitting in the front row. I could see them visibly. And then a few times during the recording, you could see myself, I was like looking at my family, giving them a little wink. And it wasn't for the cameras, but just they were laughing and smiling at me. So they were told for all the other matches to sit at the back, which they did. And my team actually told me off as well. They said, stop looking at the family, focus on the questions. So I focused a bit more. I think people noticed my first quarterfinal, I looked a bit more serious because I was told by my team, Bobby, just focus on the questions, stop enjoying the atmosphere. So yeah, it's a balance between enjoying yourself but wanting to do well as well.
Brilliant. Pam has said she was scared of the shiny floor. So this is the walk to the chair. And Gerard's shiny floor would definitely faze me. Brendan saying, I hope Ant can manage his nerves in the final. You know, were you counting, you know, when you were playing, you know, that last general knowledge round? Were you aware of whether you were close or had done it?
I've heard people say that they are, but I just find that hard to believe. No, I just focusing on the question. You know, I'm never counting. You know, you've got an idea because you've won by 4 or 5 points. You know, but you're not certain. Definitely not.
And you're through to the final, which must be like the best feeling in the world. I can only imagine, sadly. What's your final subject?
Well, I've gone for the vast series, which is Open All Hours.
Oh, my word.
Which is about 20-odd episodes. So I think it's 26. Well, a bit different to Fraser. Was Fraser 260?
It was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So the original series of Open All Hours.
Well, that's an interesting show. Well, the biggest, most interesting thing for me is that it's that few episodes. Because for me, growing up, it felt like it was always on.
Yeah, 26. It's 4 series over like quite a long period, about 12, 13 years. Something.
Blimey.
Yeah, I suppose one joke about a woman with big boobs pretty much melds into another.
And a till that bites your fingers.
Yeah.
Every single time. It was hilarious. But I don't know if you can do visual comedy in Mastermind. So Morgan is saying it's 264, I think. Yeah, Morgan, like you don't actually know that. Down to the
already a spin-off. It's already a spin-off or something.
Chris, yeah. R.I.P. Nurse Gladys. Yes, sadly departed us. Not there to see you in the final, but we will be there to see you in the final. And we are delighted you made it through. Congratulations. The top scoring player in the heats. High score in the semi-finals and a win, and we look forward to seeing you doing Open All Hours in the final, and hopefully we'll be able to twist your arm to come back on the show for the final in a few weeks.
Definitely, yeah. Brilliant.
So before we move on and talk in depth about University Challenge, we want to show you the latest episode in QUIZZY and a Reasonably Simple Quiz. It is about 3 minutes long. This is John Stitcher. So sit back and enjoy John having a go at this quiz whack-a-mole. Welcome to QUIZZY and a Reasonably Simple Quiz, and this week we have got John Stitcher, the head honcho of the Online Quiz League. Hello, John.
Hi, Gareth. Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome to this challenge. You have Morgan Bush's total of 14 out of 15 in 50.5 seconds to beat. So if you get 15 out of 15, you automatically go to the top of the leaderboard. Otherwise, it will come down to your speed and accuracy. So, John, you have a choice between set A and set B.
Set B, please.
So your answers, John, are box, hide, and shake. Box, hide, shake. Shake, hide, box, shake. Your quiz starts now. A camouflage shelter used to observe wildlife is called a what?
Hide.
According to an old TV ad, to put the freshness back, you need to... In 2002, what did Ricky Gervais do with Grass Bovey? In the biblical book of Haggai, what did God threaten to do to the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the dry land?
Shake.
In the film Grease, what shack are Sandy and Danny on? In the film Seven, Mills asked John Doe, mainly found in northern Australian waters. Sardines is a variety of children's game. In the ITV show Take Your Pick, in the men's cycling road race at the 2012 Olympics, including 9 climbs of which hill in Surrey?
Hyde.
What is the surname of Herbie? What word could follow service in tennis and penalty in football to refer to parts of the playing area?
Box.
What word follows the Harlem? What imperial unit of land is equivalent to 120 acres?
Hyde.
Which word is missing from the title of Florence? That is your 15 questions. John, how do you think you did?
Not very well. There was a few I got very quickly, but I definitely didn't get them all right. So I don't think I've challenged Morgan.
Well, we could tell you got 14 out of 15. So you joined that illustrious list, having got that score. We will now have a look to see where that puts you on the leaderboard. With 62.97 seconds, John goes onto the leaderboard in 4th place. Morgan Bush still leads the way. So, John, that's where you are. How do you feel about your go at Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz?
It was fun. Maybe I took too much time on some of them, especially penalty and service box was just couldn't pass the question quick enough. But no, it was enjoyable. Yeah, maybe I could have done better. I'll try again next series. See if I can get to the top.
Well done, John. And if anybody wants to find out more about Online QUIZZY, go to quizcentral.net, and there are loads of different competitions to take part in, all run by John and all fantastic. But until next week, goodbye. So that's the latest episode of Quizzer and a Reasonably Simple Quiz. We have 2 more to come in this series. We have Gareth Aubrey, captain of the Welsh quiz team, and we have Robert Crawley, the young and up-and-coming quiz bowler to
my
play.
Captain.
Indeed.
Gareth's my captain in OQL.
So there we go. Yes, lots of interest there. Morgan is watching. Morgan will be happy to still be at the top.
Going to beat Morgan, in fairness. Morgan was just unbelievably quick, wasn't he?
Yeah, Morgan was brilliant. That was lucky. Great player, though, John. Yeah. So, 2 more episodes to come. And indeed, we have 2 more episodes to come of University Challenge. He says, segueing so smoothly into UC.
Well done.
Now, Imperial. You got the first buzz. Then it kind of went a little bit iffy for a while. Talk us through that. How much did you know, apart from playing parlor games with Emmanuel? Did you know much about them before the match?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'd seen their first round at least before we played. So I think we probably didn't know their special subjects.
Yeah. So there was a 6-month period between the filming of first 2 quarterfinals and everything else because of COVID. So by that time, I had most of the first rounds, all of the first rounds, and I think
maybe we'd seen 2. Maybe we'd
maybe
seen their highest scoring loser.
And one of the highest scoring losers. The semi-final itself was filmed on the day of the broadcasting of the second highest scoring losers.
Yeah, that's it.
Between St. John's and UCL.
Yeah.
And so when they kind of went on a run of 3 starters, did that kind of take you by surprise, or were you kind of thinking?
Reading did it to us. Yeah, we'd been.
It takes us a while to wake up.
Yeah, we'd been there the day before. I mean, it was just another day at the office. We were like, oh God, here we go again.
I also think that their first match wasn't necessarily them at their best, but then we spoke to St. John's and Trinity, and they obviously have inter-college, they play each other obviously quite a bit, and they were like, oh no, they're as good as us. They it's a 50-50 there that they beat us or we beat them, blah blah blah. So there's no reason to underestimate them.
Yeah.
No, I mean they were great when they were getting in on the buzzes, and picking up some good bonuses. And Bobby, as an Emma alumnus, you must have been sat there thinking, oh, this is going well. Looking forward to chatting about this later.
Yes, again.
What did you make of it?
Yeah, again, I knew going into the match it would be a tough, very tough proposition. Because again, this season is different. I think Michael's season may have been similar in terms of Michael, was your season recorded all Feb, March, and April? But the April, or was it split as well?
The hint being that it was filmed in 2020.
Okay.
No, mine had an even worse split than that because we had our first round was pre-COVID, and then the other two were about a month apart. So sort of the inverse of this.
Yeah. So with our current Emma team, because they had a 6-month gap. I remember I was actually at Emma. We had a formal dinner just before the semi-final recording, and we were talking about the matches coming up and tactics and prep. And I think I was just telling them I don't know whether they knew they were facing Imperial at that stage, but if they were, we said it's going to be a tough match. So just like enjoy themselves, they'll look back on the experience and think hopefully positively. So it was the early start. We thought, if you're watching as a neutral, thinking this could be a shock on the cards. But I think once Imperial got going, again, they wake up. Imagine they wake up for the whole match. It'll be carnage for everyone else. So glad that you sleep a little bit at the start of the match.
It was quite clear, that they went aggressive. Pullinger went in on the first starter and went for Odysseus and negged. But that was clearly like a statement of intent. They were trying to get in there in front of you, and then you picked up Aeneas as the buzz on the rebound. But clearly that was the plan from their part of their point of view, and it did look like it was working to start with. And then you started getting in with your buzzes.
I think there was just a lot of pressure, because the thing is that when they got the starters for a bit, there was a lot of time and thought taken, and at the time we were just like, we really got to get some points soon. And we were just there looking at each other going like, please, we need some points, and like
cheering them on almost mentally during the Inferno bonuses, because I could just hear Michael going, yes, it's the Furies, you've got it, just say that, don't talk yourselves out of it.
Yes, and they also took a long time over it as well, which you don't need when you're chasing the game, do you?
I think they'd had comments before where people were like, "Oh, they're intentionally wasting time, waste other team's time," but they just talk a lot.
Yeah, they just
do it even to themselves.
Yeah, they just have good discussion, and I think it's just.
And they're lovely to watch. Yeah, they're so delightful.
I think it's an Emma tradition to talk. Yeah, I think it's an Emma tradition to talk a lot about bonuses.
What happened to you then, Bobby?
Say again?
What happened to you then with that tradition?
we talked, dude, maybe too much. Patrick never told us to shut up. I think if you told us stop talking, we might have adjusted. But we just enjoyed the experience.
In all fairness, though, that question was a lot of work to do to get to the answer. They needed to give them the time to do that, to make them answer quickly on that. I mean, just would have felt really cruel. But I felt like I looked down. I was watching, and then I felt like I looked down because I had a puzzle book out like I normally do, and then I looked up, and it just completely changed. We were just running away with it. It felt so quick that it just changed like that. And then I didn't put my puzzle book down because it felt quite like sexy to watch, QUIZZY.
Well, we discussed somewhere in like an interview that's somewhere on the Imperial website, but like generally we're just like, we like to think that we're quite efficient generally when it comes to just answering and conferring as well.
Sometimes to our detriment, I think.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, I was really like fair play to Max, because Max has done biochemistry more recently to me. But I was like, oh god, I'm doing the motion for anaphase, and I still get talked out of it.
Yeah, we were there just going like,
I mean, that question, I honestly think was badly written. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it could have been either.
It was mainly the contention about the phrase daughter cells.
Yeah, exactly.
Because telophase is when the the
cleavage
membranes.
Yeah.
Now, Fatima, how mortified were you on your neg? Because you knew that answer.
The pain. Well, the thing is that I couldn't remember which name they said, and so I couldn't figure out who the first one was. And I was like, I can think of another Levy. I can think of Primo Levi, but like I can't think of another Andrea. Although the next one was Andrea Dworkin, who I had come across. But yeah, it was annoying because I have Small Island on my shelf and I've seen the play. So yeah, that one hurt, but I felt like it was a noble neg to at least show that I knew what I was talking about. I just missed the question.
Yes, a noble neg. That's a great term.
Yeah. Yeah. I say generally, like, if I neg, I'm usually like confident enough to be like very close. So yeah. And I was really happy with William Godwin because it was philosophy and anarchy, and I sort of zoned out. And then they said that he married a prominent feminist, and I was like, oh, so this is the guy, this is Mary Shelley's dad. And I woke up because
I don't know if it's progress that all I could think of was this is Mary Wollstonecraft's husband.
But yeah, that was something I carded is her love life because I found it very fascinating. And I actually reviewed a biopic of her, so I could really like picture the guy who played her dad in my head as well in the film.
Max, as usual, got in with some good geography and also bonuses. Max's answers on Irish rivers were just expertly handled. But once again, Max, because I mean, we talked last time you were on about there being more strings to your bow. Whatever, trypsin, titanium. There were some cracking answers in there that were kind of not geographic.
Yeah, I did. So my interview with Imperial social media team, as well as my interview with Straits Times in Singapore, I did actually make it clear that I don't like pure geography. That my interest in geography is only because geography is related to history, anthropology, comparative linguistics, whatever. And that's the reason why I know geography. And I've only become, I'm only good at physical geography, by staring at maps. But everything else, like the foundation, everything comes from elsewhere. So the last weekend I've been spending looking at the change in ethnic composition in the Uzbek and Tajik SSRs in like 1922 to 1928, for example, which I'm quite clear on now, or like the Russian Empire. Last week, and I was looking at the Caucasus, same thing. But yeah,
he's looking at the Caucasus right now.
Just learned where all the countries are in Africa. I'm 45 and I've only just learned where all the countries are in Africa.
I actually kind of like make it clear I don't like pop geography that much. I don't like flags or stuff like recognizing country shapes. It's boring. I can do it, but it's boring.
You don't like Martian geography.
Yeah, I like actual content. So in my interview with the Straits Times in Singapore, which is the national newspaper, I actually talked about the bonus sets that I really want, and it's the ones that other teams keep getting. And I did bring up like a map rounds on Crown Lands of Austria-Hungary, or like stem duchies of the Kingdom of Germany in the 11th century. Stuff like that is stuff I really want. And in this episode, they stole the writing system. I won't get over this. They stole the writing system's bonuses from me.
But people, I think this is called, definitely among UK quiz bowlers, this is the iron law of quiz. Someone else gets your questions. Always.
Yeah. It's always the rule of you're never going to get the bonus that you want.
Yeah. I'd completely forgotten about that. That was so much fun.
They're so good.
We've got a question here, Max. How did you do with the flags question a few weeks back? The set that went on.
The tricolor. So the first time I watched that, I knew that episode had happened because on what was it? Was it Sunday?
It was the night.
It was the night. Emmanuel, it was the night. Traumatized by
that was a Saturday night, and we went out to eat at Nando's. And
because we saw June that day.
And we were all talking about the 80-85 match. What had gone on in that match, and
and they tried to describe it to us. We were just there
And I was like, what the hell is this flag question? I'm glad I didn't get it because I don't like flags. Like I know the flags, but that's due to repeated exposure. I don't actually like. I don't like look at them on purpose. I
like flags.
So I actually skipped that entire bonus round the first time I watched the episode. But the second time I watched the episode was in school with a friend. So we actually watched that, and I actually was able to figure out the answers. It took like maybe 2, 3, 5 seconds each, but I did figure out the answers. But I didn't like that set at all. And I saw the comments to that YouTube video, and it was everyone was bringing me up. I was like, no, I don't like that set. I can get it, but I don't like it. I wouldn't have liked it if I got it.
I don't think people care if you do like it. So I think they just want to see you perform. They just want to see you dance.
We should introduce a 2-tier quiz. 1, do you know the answer to this question? 2, do you like this question?
I will say me and Michael Kay and Ben Russell-Jones and Dan Lawson and I think Liam Hughes watched that episode together, and I think we all kind of had a pause and a big collective galaxy brain working it out. It was sort of like watching an all-stars team at work. It was great.
I mean, if Max could have done that in 4 or 5 seconds each, we'd have got probably another dozen starters in the time it would have saved, but wasn't to be. Lindsay and Ant, just on the point of the questions that go to somebody else that you wish you'd had, probably less a case of Ant at the moment, but Lindsay, did you have that in Only Connect? Sat there watching some other team get the question that you would have aced?
I think it was more a case of I wish we hadn't got the questions we'd got, regardless of what the other question was for some of them. Somebody I worked with the other day said he woke up to me on TikTok because he follows some Only Connect questions set a person has a TikTok and they show clips, and one of the clips was one of our questions, and he said he woke up to my confused face. He would have woke up to my confused face because him and his husband would not have been, they'd have been very confused if they'd woken up to me in their room. And it was things like that. It was the sequences with the prime ministers, and it was, I remember at the time just thinking, why am I here? But yeah, I think the thing I was always happy was that we got the music questions because we were pretty good as a team at getting the music. We got a couple on the second buzz, which is rare. Obviously my Beatles one, that's fine. So I think it was more a case of being grateful we got the ones we get. It happens more in Cockle than it did on the actual show, where I think, oh God, it's just a bit of luck with the emojis.
Michael Kay, would you have loved those music questions tonight?
I think I had pretty much the exact same answers as the Imperial team. I buzzed in before Michael and said Rachmaninoff as well.
It starts out like Rachmaninoff and then very quickly changes.
We both said afterwards, it's like, how is that not Rachmaninoff? It sounds like someone's playing a piano with hammers.
I also thought they also thought they wouldn't give us Liszt as a starter again.
Yeah, we've had it before.
Yeah.
So that's 2 out of 3 of your classical starters have been Liszt.
Oh no,
and the
2
other
out
one...
of 4. 2 out of 4 because you got the opera one. There was
the opera, yeah,
good old Queen of the Night.
But yeah, I mean, that was just. What was the? I only got one of them. I got Schoenberg at the end. Mainly off historical clues because I knew it. I was like, well, if they said early 20th century, I was like, I think Imperial are going to say Wolf. I can't remember what you said. You'd say, but it's too late for that. And I thought this could be the time for Guru Leader, which I think is what it was. I didn't really recognize it. But
I mean, at the time, I was just thinking, this is German. It sounds brash and it's to do with the wild hunt in nature and someone go with Wolf.
A lot of semi-final music of any genre in University Challenge seems to be very hard. I think my set in the semi-finals was zeroed by my team. Well, no, I got the starter and that was it. Magdalene in my series got the starter and that was it for their pop music thing. And Imperial got none of it because they just were talking about people who are very hard to recognize, especially when you're under pressure. No one is going to be like, this could be César Franck. Unless you know the work, and I don't think it was well known. But it was an interesting idea.
Anton, any of the shows you've done, have you ever had that kind of feeling of, if only I had that question?
Yeah, like Michael says, I think all quizzes have had that. He's stealing or she's stealing my questions. It happens in Mimir often, doesn't it? That's what makes Mimir such a good, great, and annoying format at the same time. You're thinking you're giving me all the ones I don't know, but it's just one of those things, and it always seems as though everyone's having the questions that you want. But it hasn't happened on. Obviously, it's not going to happen on Mastermind so much, but. Yeah, it is. It does happen often in competition.
Can I ask you a question, Anne? Do you count your own answers to the other people's general knowledge as they're happening to see how you do?
Do I count my own answers?
Yeah. So as they're getting asked their questions, are you answering them in your own head and keeping track of what you got if you had got their questions?
When I'm on the show?
Yeah.
Oh no, definitely not. No, as I said, the nerves are so great at that stage. I'm just focused on me getting up there and doing what I need to do. People have said that they've counted what they're doing, what other people. There's enough to think about, with the questions coming at you without anything else going on. So no, definitely didn't do that.
We've got a comment here, which I think is for Max. Geography is like learning Father Christmas does not exist.
What?
Yeah, I'm trying to work that one out. But also, this for hammered pianos is always a good guess.
Exactly. But I mean,
but
the
Rachmaninoff was
they
also.
gave us in the first one was like very much not hammered.
Oh, it's all virtuos. I hate piano music. I utterly hate piano music. I'm saying this as a pianist myself. I hate listening to other people playing
it very well.
No. I hate other people playing pianos. I just hate all that virtuosity. Just arpeggios non-stop.
All the plinky plonky. Michael, Lamina, that was a blooming good buzz.
I mean, okay, well, I both. So two things you could argue came up from my own like field tonight. Like I was going off of laminar flow, like it comes from like the idea that it looks like it's in thin sheets and then like laminated and blah blah blah. So I was waiting to hear like 6 letters or something that would make me sure. But then I also didn't get advection, which is very much my own field. So that was like I will be shamed by my like supervisor, I think, for that.
But to be fair, one thing, like you can see how bemused Michael is, but if you paid attention to the starters we've got, last time you got patina and they mentioned verdigris in the question, and this time they described verdigris and wanted verdigris. And having had those matches so close together, we were like,
you can't ask that twice.
You can't ask that twice, but they did, and we'll take it.
They also cut you two like laughing, like quite heavily.
I think that like I was glad they kept in the bit where I'd said I'd looked up Dashiell Hammett and forgotten his name, because they did also cut out us being, you just asked us that for the verdict.
Dear. Gerard says, I'm glad others didn't get the Father Christmas comment. I thought I was missing something obvious.
I don't know if it's just doing geography is bad, but I thought
geography doesn't exist.
It could be an Emperor's New Clothes thing. That's kind of what I was taking.
Is this like one of those things where they try and say Finland doesn't exist now? So now the entire geography map doesn't exist.
Never seen any proof Finland exists.
Yeah. See, I found the best proof.
Helsinki was in the question. Okay.
The best proof of Finland doesn't exist was the fact that it's 1% of the population with an error of plus or minus 1%. So there's a 50-50% chance that it doesn't exist.
So Max, can you confirm whether Finland exists or not? Just for
go
the
on, Max.
I mean, like, we talk about Karl Popper's falsification. You can't really prove that something doesn't exist, can you?
Okay.
Good job. Good job.
You reject the statement, but you can't prove the statement is true.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people who say they're from Finland, but well, there you go.
It's all proof.
On that bombshell, Levo is going to start weeping. So other favourite questions or gets? Bobby, was there anything that jumped out to you in UC tonight?
Ooh, was it Fatima? You know the questions on the director, Vin Benders. When I film, I'm always looking at you. What's your reaction going to be?
So, fun story. In a knockabout question in the first round, so for people who've played University Challenge, they'll know that they'll give you practice questions before you start. And so in our first round, Jeremy accidentally picked up a real question when he was just meant to be reading some fake bonus sets. Like the fake bonus sets we've gotten have been on like ice cream and stuff just to test our mics. But then he picked in our first round, so back in March, he picked up a card that said, you're going to get some bonuses on Vin Benders. And I was like, that's interesting. And then he said something, oh no, that's a real question. We'll have to leave that. And so over the next 6 months, whenever I saw Vin Benders, I was like, we won't get that. They spoiled that bonus set for us. But it was 6 months, and obviously the producers had forgotten that was a thing, and I had purposely emptied Vin Benders from my mind So that went very badly for me.
And we all collectively misheard goalie as goalie.
Yeah, basically, Jeremy had to re-record that, so clearly he wasn't clear when he said it at the time. So we did not hear goalie, therefore we were never gonna get.
We heard, yeah, we heard.
But then the irony was, I'd read the Wikipedia page for that work by Peter Handke. So I was like,
yeah, it was basically just literature in there, really.
Yeah.
Handker, and then there was the Dashiell Hammett, whose name is so egregiously American, and I always forget it.
Oh dear! And there was a period where you were the focus of the camera, Fatima, for a long period of time.
That was Dashiell Hammett.
That was you having a brain freeze.
Yeah, me and Felix call that being Vin Benders.
Vin Benders.
Oh dear. So yes, you have a term for that. So Michael, as their coach and captain from previous year,
Happy mother.
Yes. When you watch them, and you've watched them now over a number of matches, 5 matches so far, do you see a team that's taken on board stuff you've tried to kind of drill into them, and do you see kind of the teamwork that you were imagining? And final question of this multi-part question: how much better are they than your team?
So, right, let's answer that in turn. Well, obviously, I can say stuff to a team about you should learn this, that, and the other, but it's up to them to learn it. So, like, I spent a lot of time with the team, but for me, it was quite fun watching episodes, playing quizzes. So, it's not going to claim very much credit apart from putting in the time in terms of turning up to their sessions. But they had good teamwork from the start. And it was just sort of getting an awareness of when to pass, which I think in the end, they have had better than I think any team I've ever seen. But yeah, what were the other parts of the question again?
I can't remember, Michael. Can I flip it round then and ask the team what they got from Michael?
Hang on, I remember the last part of the question, and I will answer that one, which is I think their team probably had a better base of knowledge in terms of specialisms than mine, and were better under the cameras. So if you compare the teams under the lights, undoubtedly this Imperial team is better. We have played them twice in practice. My team beat them both times. Once quite comfortably. Just putting that one out there.
So can I flip it round and ask the current Imperial team, what did you get from Michael as a coach? What did he kind of add to your dynamics?
Yeah, so what I was about to say was that Michael did bring up stuff that like he told us to learn and stuff. But the thing is, I feel like my philosophy when it comes to quiz is like completely different from everyone else. In that I do not want to learn for quiz.
He will learn for the sake of it.
The only thing I learned for UC was the Nobel Peace Prizes, and that's it. And I didn't use it. Everything else I just did as per normal, because I mean, like, even after UC, I'm just spending all my time looking at random stuff on the internet. You have
to be like that. I think to be good at UC, I think you just need that curious person.
To be like actually really good at a subject, you need to. You need to not like set goals for yourself. You need to be you need to like treat it as like something you do in your free time. Something you just look at all day.
Add something to Max there. I didn't say like you will get better at quiz by learning these lists. And once you learn these lists, you will get to the final of University Challenge. As soon as my time finished, I stopped using any sort of flashcards, and I haven't used any since. But if you have a finite amount of time, if you have in a normal series, you'd have 3 months after your team is put together. And if you want to make sure you're solid on the stuff that if they're going to ask you about Nobel Physics Prize winners, Nobel Literature Prize winners, Messier number constellations, you'd be a fool not to learn them. So it's a shortcut because
we covered our bases between us. So I think Michael was there when we were dividing up exactly what kind of lists. So we all divided up Nobel Prizes, And definitely some of the really fast stuff I've gotten is because I have carded, because unlike Max, I'm not fast unless I really, really know something. So I think making cards for me helped me set goals in terms of things I needed to know, and like sort of setting out boundaries, I guess, for the topics that I was learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fatima. Bobby, one last question, and I guess to Lindsay as well. Just when you were watching tonight's match, what did you make of the team dynamics and how well they play together? Bobby, you've been in that format. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think you can see that, again, with obviously Emma team as well, but with Imperial, you can see the growth and progression. I think for me, for the Imperial team, the thing that stood out most was their resilience to that wobbly start. Because when, obviously, you said sometimes you sleep early on, but in a semi-final when there's no recourse, like in the first round and in the quarterfinals, in theory, you have other matches to fall back on just in case. Semi-finals, I think like the second round, I think is the cruelest match, because second round you lose, you're out. Semi-final you lose, you're out. So I think they did well to keep composed. Was it the picture round when the Emma team were taking a lot of time because of the nature of the question, they were behind. So I can imagine teams could get quite nervous, thinking, oh God, when is it going to get to us? So they kept their composure really well. So congratulations on doing so, I thought.
And how about you?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, there's this kind of steamroller effect that goes on in UC as well as other, especially with UC more than anything else. You got buzzer after buzzer after buzzer, and you can see a team's head, you can see the head start to drop. Before you know it, it's 50, 60, 70, 80 points, and you can feel it sliding away. But yeah, like I agree with Bobby, the way they kind of remain calm there and just sort of realized, that they were the better team, and just, in time that would show through, and it usually does.
Lindsay, any final thoughts on that?
I just think for me, the thing I liked, I think earlier on there's been some consternation on Twitter about which way people face when they conferring and stuff, but what I really liked is you could almost see that the captain regardless of which way he was facing, you could, if the words would have been visible, you could see them going in and processing what everyone was saying before he made that decision, and you could see how in tune you all were, and I thought that was absolutely lovely, because it doesn't matter which way you're facing, it matters that they're listening, because it's really Captain Alan would always look at me, but he was always listening to the other Alan. It's just one of those things. But he was taking it all in, and you could see you all giving that information, and I think that was beautiful to see. It was really good synergies.
Yeah, I think that's, we've talked about this before. I don't think we need to go into it again. There's a lot of garbage been spoken, and I think that sums up some really good captaincy on the part of Michael. Unless Michael wants to add anything, I don't want to silence you, Michael. But
I'll take the praise.
Do because
it's really hard. I wouldn't have wanted to do it, and I don't like not being in charge. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it.
So 8 unanswered, unanswered's the wrong word in this context. 8 buzzes without reply saw you through to the 170 points to 65 points into the final. How much longer was it that after the semi-final before you filmed the final?
3 hours.
Yeah, same day.
2-3 hours.
Really?
Wow.
Same day.
Did you have time to kind of decompress and?
Nope.
We left. We went
more cups of coffee
to a cafe.
Yeah.
We changed our clothes.
Yeah. We went
back, ready to do it all over again. To quote that Jeremy Corbyn meme.
We went to the Costa around the corner. I caffeinated myself, and then then we went back.
I don't think
and then we had to watch the other semi-final in the green room, so we were very nervously seeing who we would be playing.
It was
no spoilers.
Yeah. But just generally, the whole that day was so painful.
I don't think I ate properly that day. I didn't play either match.
None of us did. None of us did.
Yeah,
can I ask Imperial, was your semi-final at 1:26? Because I could see Paxman's watch at the start of the game, and it upside down. So I flipped the picture, and it said 1:26. Was that when your semi-final was? Just after lunch?
No, I think it was in the morning. We started at 11, I think.
So his watch was incorrect then.
Yeah, no, he just wears it for bling, for just for aesthetic. He has to have his fit sorted.
Wow, eagle eyes there, Bobby.
Yeah.
Right, we are going to take just a couple of minutes to go through quiz week. So when we come back, we'll finish off with champagne moment of the day. So whatever your favorite moment was from one of the tonight shows, and you can pick your own moment if you would like to. Come back and we will deal with that. So I'll pop you back into the waiting area while we do that very briefly. But we'll see Ant, Bobby, Michael, Fatima, and gang, and Lindsay. You've got a gang now, Fatima. Your name is first on the list. Yeah. We'll see you again in a few minutes. So, Quiz Week. And let's start by looking at the winner of Quiz of the Week last week. It was Eleanor Ayres who won it for her Mastermind Heat win. Second was Sarah Trevathan. And third was me. And I told people not to vote for me, but it was me. And Team of the Week was Not So Trivially Hirsute from OQL, Martial Artisans from Connections Online Quiz League, and Kentish Men from OQL came third. Congratulations to them. You can nominate a team or player at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations through to 5 o'clock next Monday. And in our What is the Question competition, the winner with the answer game was this question by Andrew Cheshire Ramon. The Prisoner's Dilemma, Battle of the Sexes, and the Muddy Children puzzle are all examples of which mathematical theory. So well done to Andrew. The current answer in need of a question is Mercury, and you can now vote for the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQ Mercury. And we have now filmed all of the Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz, so we don't need anybody to take part anymore. But we will be releasing the videos, as we have been, one by one outside of QUIZZY Monday as well. So look out for those on our channel. And we've been asking people to subscribe to us to try and get us to 1,000 subscribers. And guess what? Yeah, we made it to 1,000, so we're really, really happy. So thanks to everybody who supported us over the last 18 months. We're really, really pleased that you like what we do. But if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button. It's free, and it just means you won't miss out on anything that we do coming forward. And is that it? That is it for the moment. So I am going to run through the news in the world of quiz. And the big news in TV was the US version of The Chase has announced 3 new chasers. And we're delighted that World Quizzer of the Year, Victoria Gross, is one of them. And University Challenge, OQL, Quizzing World Cup veteran of countless other competitions, Brandon Blackwell from Imperial, I believe, is also on the roster. And congratulations to Buzzy Kohn, whose fantastic reputation we're aware of, and he completes the set. Counterpoint. And now, if you don't want to know what happened in the Counterpoint final now, press mute, and then I will wave when you can bring yourself off mute. So Counterpoint, if you don't know, is a general knowledge music quiz on BBC Radio 4. The grand final of the latest series was today and included former Mastermind champion Isabel Heward, finalist of Mastermind last series and Only Connect champion of champions Frankie Fanco, and semi-finalist from this year's Mastermind Sarah Trevathan. It was a brilliant final, and if you don't want to know, as I say, if you haven't already muted, make sure you're muted. The final finished with Isabel and Frankie tied for first place. The single question on the buzzer decided the title, and the winner was Frankie Fanco. Massive congratulations to Frankie and also to Isabel and Sarah for giving us a brilliant final. Frankie's, of course, a nominee for Quizzer of the Week. Now I'm waving. So hopefully people can come back. It's like the old, football scores thing, isn't it? If you don't want to know scores, switch away now. OQL, season 6 of OQL is concluded. Quiz Machine Kills Fascists are the champions and take a nomination. Pericardium won Division 2. Victoria Phoenix did their best to blow the chances at the top of Division 3, but ended up champions by just 4 points over the course of the season. Bletchington Nomads are OQL Division 4 champions. They also won the Oxfordshire Quiz League Blockbuster competition and the Oxfordshire Quiz League Handicap Quiz champions, so they get a nomination. Kentish Men won Division 5. Rando Calquizzians won Division 6. Worldwide Wanderers won Division 7. Oliver Levy scored a full house in the draw that secured Quiz Machine Kills Fascists their title. Bob DeCoe topped the 2-point averages, and they both get nominations. And Amy Godel also scored a full house last week. In OQL USA, there were 2 full houses, and I have my first opportunity to pronounce Andrew Ulsberger's name correctly, since I learned it had a hard G. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to pronounce Greg Fanu's name. It's written like canoe, could be Fano. Anyway, he gets a nomination too. There are 2 nominees for Team of the Week. Neutral Milf Hotel, who got 27 out of 32 of their 2-pointers, on the way to a massive 64 points, and Very Stable Geniuses for their win over Flamingo Bellagio. In the Pop Culture Challenge, in the quarterfinals, the top scorers were both in Tier 1, Bob DeCoe and Dow Jackson. They both scored 13 out of 15 on their own questions. They'll play each other in the semi-finals, along with Tom Mead and Jenny Ryan. The other Tier 1 semi-finals between Colin Daffin, Dave Gregson, Lewis Jones, and Nick Reed. In Pop Solos, the American equivalent, Jason Hess, Chris Miller, Ben Kitchen, Chris Rance, Mark McCotty, and Dave Plotkin all top scored with 12 out of 15 on their own questions. In QLL, the big story was the top 2 in Division 1 facing off against each other. Grey Monks had the advantage going in, but it was All Sorts who won and came out on top and now lead the table by a single point with 1 week to go. Grey Monks play 8th place Amoebas in the final match. All Sorts have a trickier fixture against 5th place Hornets Rest, and there's a chance that if both All Sorts and Grey Monks lose, that Pericardium could win their first title. It'll all be decided by this time tomorrow night. There were no full houses, but there were 7-2s for Eggheads, Olaf Bjortomt, Kevin Ashman, and Thomas Grinja. In QVQL, James McGregor notched a maiden win. He gets a nomination. In week 6 of Mimi as well, Ian Bailey and Dan Arabus both got 14 out of 15 on their own questions. In Connections Online Quiz League, in the US version, we had a nomination from No Hat Mafia for their equal highest point total achieved by any team in this format. And in the UK League, the Taskmasters take a nomination for their win over Dower, Weeb, both or neither. In Quiz Bowl, the UK Quiz Bowl have a Spring Novice tournament online this Saturday. It's for university students who have never averaged over 30 points per game in a tournament. In MQL, Ormskirk won both their matches last week to win the President's Trophy. Player of the round was Pat Gibson with 42 points. Ormskirk and Pat are nominated. Quiz in the North is next happening on 11th of June in Middlesbrough. There'll be information on the Quiz in the North Facebook page. And we saw a Mastermind, Ant Fish, winning his heat. Ant will get a nomination for Quizzer of the Week. We haven't got it in the presentation, but it will be there. And we saw Imperial win their semi-final. Likewise, they will get a nomination. And of course, Counterpoint was won by Frankie Fanco. So let's look at the nominees once more. And there's a lot of them. So for Quizzer of the Week, Dan Arabus, Kevin Ashman, Ian Bailey, Olaf Bjortomt, Bob DeCoe, Frankie Fanco, Greg Fanu, Pat Gibson, Amy Godel, Thomas Grinja, Jason Hess, Dow Jackson, Ben Kitchen, Oliver Levy, Mark McCotty, James McGregor, Chris Miller, David Plotkin, Chris Rance, and Andrew Allsberger. And for team, All Sorts, Bletchington Nomads, Neutral Milf Hotel, No Hat Mafia, Ormskirk, Quiz Machine Kills Fascists, The Taskmasters, and Very Stable Geniuses. And you can vote at tinyurl.com/QW20. Oh, I think there's an error there, isn't there? Yeah.
It's right.
Oh, it's right. QW21AR. That's tinyurl.com/QW21AR. And yeah, that is it. So let us bring everybody back in. And we have, oh, of course, added to that list, we got Ant. And we have Bobby, Lindsay, Imperial, and Michael. Welcome back, everybody. So now I get my breath back after that gallop through the world of quiz. Ant, what was your champagne moment of the day?
Looking through those list of nominees, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win win out there. Not I was going to go with Counterpoint actually, but I don't. You just said that was still a bit of a secret, isn't it? So I'm not sure if I'm supposed to if I can mention.
I think somebody can mute the if they're really worried about.
I'll just say Counterpoint then, because it was a great final, great competitors, and very close finish. You know, I really enjoyed that.
Brilliant, Bobby.
Can I actually pick a specific question from today? So, like, I'm born and bred. My parents from Kerala in South India, but they moved to London in the late 70s, early 80s. So I'm from London, lived there my whole life, and yet. Max, you beat me on the question on the London boroughs. I was thinking, is it Lambeth or Southwark? I wasn't sure. When you got that, I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So as for that map round, I didn't actually realize there was going to be a map. So
okay.
he did say there was going to be a map in the question, but I kind of zoned out. Like I heard, you're going to be showing this building, blah blah blah, and I was like, I thought it was just going to be a picture like in the bonus rounds later on, and I thought Gilbert or Michael would get that before me.
Yeah.
So
and then there was a map, and you were like,
I just zoned out. And then when the picture appeared, I was like, map. So I just.
But you also said you were like hesitated for half a second because
Yeah.
you weren't sure of the exact pronunciation.
Yeah. So if you hear me on the show, I said something like Southwark. I knew the first syllable was South, which is not what I expect. I didn't know how to pronounce the second syllable at all. I knew it was in London, so it's going to have a really weird pronunciation.
Yep. So, tremendous. I think my champagne moment might just be what Max just said. Map. I think we might have just literally had it this second. Michael, how about you?
I think, without trying to get too mushy and parental, I think just watching Imperial play as a team was just, I got a text because obviously I've been really involved in their journey, but wasn't able to be there in Manchester. I was getting updates from the reserve who was watching in the green room. I just saw a text saying they're down 70-15, and there were lots of expletive utters by both of us. And then for them to just sort of go on that streak, and it was not just the starters. And I think, again, one of two very underrated players because they're next to someone who's very much in the limelight, Ramsey and Michael. And I thought this was a really good game for Michael because his buzzers were really fast. All of them quite near the beginning of the question. Even a Vulch that probably there was more question to come, but didn't need it.
She had buzzed before the word Cumaean, and then as soon as they'd said Cumaean, I was like, oh, I now know this is Aeneas, and she's gotten it way faster than me. But then she said Odysseus. I think she just had a sort of moment or whatever.
It just happens. But just I thought they were playing very well as a team.
Okay.
That was just always fun to see. And I like and the match was very literature heavy, and I like literature heavy matches.
Indeed, it was a great team performance. So, Imperial, let's go around one by one then from you. What were your favourite moments?
I'm just going to say, like sort of live on camera, that one of my champagne moments is that we've got a really lovely tweet from Brandon from 2 series ago saying how well we've done. And like, really, I was really nervous about what he thought about our team. So I'm so
I think you mean Brandon off the chase.
Yes, Brandon.
Brandon off the Chase US.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, we were kind of talking through because I feel like we all kind of have our own favorite buzzers, but I have to say our champagne moment is genuinely just playing Emmanuel because I felt like such a healthy respect for Cara Malcolm because she picked up my Andrea Levy neg, but I beat her to William S. Burroughs, so we kind of shook hands on it like this is even now. And yeah, Nicholas was just really fast, and James Rathel is a lovely, lovely person. And I still message Nicole Plunger, and I think just playing them, I think obviously that's an off-screen champagne moment, but they are so delightful to play.
See, mine's kind of the same, except I think my champagne moment is winning the duel. I mean, you know, winning the duel beforehand. I think that's solidified something.
You're going to dine out on that one for a while, aren't you?
Oh yeah. That's champagne to keep me for days, Gareth.
Michael, how about you?
I think I'm going to be a bit greedy and say one of mine, the Lamina, just because
the Lamina was good.
Just because it's my own. Really it's Latin. It's my own subject. I just like aligned, so I was happy to get that, and it makes up my PhD group are already mocking me for adventure.
And you got bonuses on Latin, which after the first part was smooth sailing for you. So,
Max,
I'm not good at this sort of question. I'm sorry, but probably one of Michael's faster buzzers.
Yeah.
If I had to do something here.
Excellent. Lindsay,
you can choose their set of questions on all alphabets that you.
Oh my god.
So I'll call it my Prosecco moment would be Brandon getting to be a chaser because he is my massive quiz crush, like in my intellectual crush. Brandon, Richard Aubrey, they're the two. And the champagne moment is by far Counterpoint because the person, to not say the name, to get to the draw, the answer was the winner takes it all. And if that had won it, that would have been brilliant. But then to take it to a tiebreak, I was very proud to know all three of those amazing ladies in that final. So that in itself was a great, proud day for quiz. But yeah, excellent winner, a person I admire and like a lot. So that's my champagne moment.
Indeed. First ever all-female final at Counterpoint, and therefore the first ever female winner at Counterpoint in God knows how many years, 50-odd years or whatever it's been going, a long time. Yeah, I mean, for me, again, knowing the person who won that, that was definitely a highlight. I I think there was a little kind of on Godwin, a little kind of reaction from Fatima that I quite enjoyed. So that was good. And Ant's specialist subject round, the way you nailed that was just there was some really brutally efficient answering, both from Imperial and from Ant. And I guess if I was to, because I haven't got one. I'm kind of got a number. I think the relentless comeback by Imperial again was one of the great moments of tonight. Just that kind of clawing them back and then putting the game out of sight. So Counterpoint, Imperial's comeback, Ant's flawless specialist subject round, and Fatima's little celebration.
I'd have to give a second one as well. I think the second one for me would be like me and Michael looking at each other when we had a roundabout Ptolemaic map, and we were just looking at each other, just going like, because we'd looked at this like a week before about like old maps. We looked at each other, being like, "Oh no."
Yeah, if you read that article, I took a picture of when we were all pointing and laughing at old maps.
It was the Mappa Mundi.
The Mappa Mundi. So we were quite amused when we got that one.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We've gone a bit over time tonight. It's been a lot to fit in, but I really appreciate everybody joining us. Ant fresh from his Mastermind semi. Bobby, you've probably got an early start tomorrow. Sorry for keeping you up late on a school night, but really appreciate you joining us. Lindsay, as ever, great to see you. And Michael K, great to have you on board. And Imperial, congratulations on your semi-final win. And we very much hope to see you after the final, but we will be having discussions about that, obviously offline, so I don't make it embarrassing for you right now. Awkward. Anyway, well done, everybody. Thanks so much, everybody who's kind of watched and long and commented and Glorifin Farrell. I'm glad we got to actually your comment in the end and worked out what you meant, because actually it's good once we worked it out. Don't forget to vote for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. We will put the link in the description afterwards. And don't forget to vote for what is the question. We will be back next week, I believe. Michael Hutchinson from Reading will be with us among the guests. I think we got Sarah Trevathan, possibly Rachel Nyman, and I will be doing my best to get Ben Russell-Jones as well from Edinburgh. So we should have a really good lineup next week. Until next week, have a great week of quiz, and we will see you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.
See you all.